So having never acted before, Rasselas, how did you become? How did this happen out of not ever acting before?
I must say that the story was with me for a long time, for a long period of time, and I knew that it was going to be very light on dialogue, and that his body language, mannerisms, and the sensibilities were the ones that I needed to focus on. And I had that by nature of being an Ethiopian. I have my own, you know, I come from a very different region, and my uncle, my dad is from the mountains, and they exhibit this character that is unique, that I always felt it was unique, and I had the opportunity to play it, use all those styles to depict this character.
Okay, thank you, and I think we have another one up here.
Can we do something about the buzz? Is that from the mics or is that from the...
Feedback?
Okay.
Yeah, the buzz is maybe, it's going to be a good, the sound is going to be affected if the buzz is on.
Okay, well,
and then, and the light is a little bit strong, I say.
It's cold. JJ, try switching out the mic while they're asking the questions.
this mic? Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
I think it's still playing in the projector. She has to turn it off, maybe.
Maybe I'll just make a more annoying noise, and then nobody will be thinking about that. All right, somebody had another question?
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
Up here, way in the back.
Oh, yeah, I can see.
Russ.
Thinking about the noise. Go ahead.
So as a fellow Ethiopian, I'm very proud of you and the movie. It's really well done.
Thanks.
My question is, from the conception to the actual happening release of the movie, how long did it take you, and where did you get the funds?
The concept occurred to me in 1989 while I was in school in Idaho, Pocatello, Idaho. I read a beautiful article about the whole moment when Bert Greenspan went and opened the film in Addis in 1972, and he described the moment then when Bikila was so emotionally touched by the whole event. And I think Washington Post wrote it beautifully. And it kind of stuck with me because I heard of this character. But he was more like a mythical figure. We hear about his barefoot victory, but nothing about the boy behind the man. But I think it was I was just alone in a library, and it just occurred to me that I need to research about my countryman. So that was in 1989. So I wrote a little article for the school, for the Idaho State Journal, just about the Rome victory and the relationship it has with the fascist invasion. And I carried it with me throughout the years after that. I asked a broadcasting company if we could do a documentary, 1-hour documentary, biography on TV, but I didn't get a good response. But it was around 1999 when they started talking about the great athletes of the century, the great writers of the century, the great thinkers of the century. I was just not able to find him in the list as an athlete. And I said, okay, if that's the case, then there has to be something that has to be done. And the American people, everybody has to know about this, because this is a nation that admires the story of the underdog. Probably admires the guy who was literally the last gladiator who conquered Rome, and who lost his father through the fascists, and who grew up a shepherd, just like shepherds did in Mount Olympus, or like David. And he played the harp. He knew he was a good horseman, and he was just a shepherd. And he, by sheer luck, conquered Rome. And one night he became Caesar. This is what you just saw. And it was very important for me to show that there's this great story should not be overlooked, should not be neglected. And it was important for me. So the whole process. Then after that, it's start writing it with my cousin, turning it into a documentary. That was in early 2000. Coming back to the question, and around 2005 and 6, I met a partner in this film, Davy Frankel, an amazing guy who understood that this vision should be told from the perspective of an African. This story, and he was very helpful in every aspect. And it took us the whole production from finalizing the script all the way to finishing the film was probably close to 5 years. So in between that, in the 90s, there was a lot of research that I made, talking to some of his close friends and everything like that. So altogether, it was a major expedition.
Okay, and I think we have another question over here. Sorry about the buzz, but it's a short circuit in our system.
All right, Ross, in the movie we got to see some beautiful scenery, and I just had a real quick question. Were you filming on site in Ethiopia, and over the 5 years, how much of it was actually filmed there, if in fact you did film there?
Yeah, we did film in Ethiopia. And we have to shoot it twice. We shot the daytime scenes in I think 2007 and 2008. We had to go back because we needed new equipment for the light scene for the night scenes. So we came in with different crew, Romanian crew. So that was all shot in Ethiopia. As a matter of fact, where the accident happened is actually the right place where it happened, and the bars and everything. Actually, the bar is my uncle's bar. But we tried to follow the same route. Those are the roads that the Italians built, during the invasion in 1941 and during that time. That is the same road Abebe just took all the way to Rome. Every road leads to Rome, and he was there. So we had to make sure that that road was very important for the film. It has this mystical power to it, and you see that in the film as it's paralleling his journey and his victory 9 years before, that Italy comes back to him. There's a near accident with a big Fiat. There is the blind horse, that's him, and there is the blue balloon. That's an outcast like him, who wants to follow him. It's a metaphorical riddle. The road was very important because the film was based on this road and this journey, that Italy comes back and haunts him because he should not have taken that road in the first place, because that road doesn't take him to Munich. He thought the same road was going to take him to Munich. So it's pretty much, I'm telling you the layers. You should get that DVD on the DVD extra.
Okay, and I think we have another one up here.
Hi, it's an absolutely beautiful film. I loved all the work that went into it, all the shots. The director of photography did an amazing job, or they all did an amazing job. Love the irony behind the honey being something that was going to help heal him, and then the honey wine being the cause of the accident. But I was curious, what was the hardest part of making this entire film? Like, what obstacles did you run into? And yeah, that's pretty much it. I just want to know.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the honey, the honey is, it comes from the flowers of any country. It's like a medicine. The bees do it, it ends up in your body. So it's a healing thing. It comes from the mountains. It comes from the flowers that grow in the mountains, and then you drink it to heal it. So that idea has always been there in every country that are mountains. It's an old-time tale, And they use that honey to make brewery and other things. But coming back to the other question, the hardest thing really was just to play him to run like him. I just was never able to duplicate that because I had some running shots that I needed to take, but I was never able to duplicate that. And The rest I felt really comfortable, but the running, the actual running was I could not really try to mimic him. He could only, maybe he's the only one who could run that way. And the other thing is in terms of the production, getting the money, of course, is very difficult usually for this sort of film. And in writing, while finalizing the script, most of these things are weaved into the script. So whatever you saw there is pretty much, we spent so much time on the script, walking through Central Park, talking about it. What's going to happen? What's the purpose of the blind horse? How are we going to tweak this and this one and this? And casting was another thing, finding the right people. It wasn't hard to find the protagonist, but but apart from that, there were costume, 1965. I mean, what is the phone operator going to dress like that? How is she going to be red? If it's red, the wall is green and all that. So it's a very, it's an amazing process. Thanks.
Can you talk more about your financing, the process of financing an independent film like this? So much of Utah is independent and independent filmmaking, and so I think if you could be more specific about your actual process, who do you start calling?
It has to do with luck.
There you go.
Really, it has to do with luck. It has to do with the story.
Yes.
If you write something about Edgar Allan Poe, a biography about him, you'll definitely get a fund, because America wants to preserve the culture. He's a giant. So there are certain stories that you're going to get funds on. It's just a little, it could be a great film, but some people may not read it that way. But a biography films, to start your film with biographies and stuff is usually helpful, because everybody knows about it. He's a giant, nobody has done anything about him. So that could fly, you know? Mm-hmm. So it all depends on the money situation. People knew Wekila, a lot of people knew the Barefoot Runner, so the guy wanted to know a little more. He saw the clips a little bit here and there. He said, you know, look, there may be some possibility here. He believed in the project all along the way, and he gave it.
Okay, and I think we have another one right here.
Ross, congratulations, beautiful film.
Thank you very much.
I love how it was put together, and all the imagery and the metaphor and all the images that they represented. Congratulations for completing that marathon in your life.
Thank you very much. It means a great deal.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions. What was it filmed on film or digitally, and is this being submitted to Sundance, or do you have distribution to the United States and into Canada and beyond?
This was shot in 35mm film. We had 4 DPs from England, from Bulgaria, from America, and from Germany. Usually you work with only one DP, but there was a way we were able to do it. Partly because we didn't have the budget. We were getting budget, incrementally. So sometimes, the DP may be tied in with some other work, but we just said, look, 4 DPs could shoot it as long as we keep the consistency and continuity. So with 35, it came out really nice, I think, in my opinion. In terms of distribution, I mean, this is the distribution. This is we've tried to push it in Europe in 2010, 2009, after it was released. We played it a lot of places in the world, in the festivals. But a few buyers have found this film to be, is it independent, or is it something else? It doesn't seem to be independent. Again, it's a biograph. Is it more like a documentary or feature? Is it both? So I think that there was a tendency that they thought that this film was not going to be really marketable, because maybe it's a style, because we really tried to create this seamless hybrid between the Olympic archives. As you know, they're very beautiful, and they were actually directed by reputable directors from Japan and Italy. So we want to preserve them and then somehow weave our way in. And it came out to be a new kind of biographical tale. terms of the style, I think. But for buyers, it's really not. It doesn't have some of the elements that they usually look for. But right now it's picking up because right now we are with. You can explain about that one. About the tickets, the Flix.
Yeah, actually, with Film Festival Flix,
the film festival Flix, you know, they go around and look for films that have done well in the festivals, and they show them to you guys, and they show them Denver, Iowa, LA. We were just in LA. We had a good turnout, and finally they just want, but ultimately they want to build a momentum, with the media and with the numbers and everything like that. So hopefully they'll show it to New York City or someplace like that.
Okay, and I think I have another one right here.
Thank you very much, Rasa. It was such a pleasure to watch that film. I also think you're a little hard on yourself. When I saw you, I thought that guy runs like an Ethiopian. I thought you did a fine job even running.
Thanks.
I had a couple of quick questions. One, I noticed from early on, the movie has a great sense of poetry to it. I thought it was interesting that you would hear people having conversations while we were far removed from that visually, and it felt very poetic throughout. I want to know about that. I mean, having worked with such an international crew of people, how did you get to understand what you were trying to accomplish? That's the first question. And then the second one would just be what's next for you? Has this opened some opportunities, and are you going to continue to? What are you doing next?
Yeah, but the first one, if you rephrase that one in short, what would be the first question?
Sorry. What was the motivation behind such a poetic telling? Is that an Ethiopian sort of thing? I'm just curious about that.
Gotcha. Yes, I mean, yeah, it's the riddle, the road, and the way you tell the story is something that stuck with me from the beginning, from the outset. It had to be a different story. It had to be like an African story. And these little elements are the ones that will contribute to its uniqueness. These are the little elements that the big filmmakers always forget about Africa. The little things that makes us very unique. So staying with this, the poetic way of telling the story was very, very important. But in a way too, with me and Davey, there was also this idea of using the directors of the past since 1950s or 60s, because we would always refer to how is your character going to play, and he always said, okay, you got to start watching a film called Pickpocket by Robert Bresson, and how he basically strips everybody naked in a way of their mannerisms and keeps them raw. And most of the time he will play people that are not real actors. Pickpocket is a good one. So our reference point would always, maybe the ride would be more like Fellini's ride in Roma, or that blue house at the end will be more like Antonioni. So it represents that one. But in most cases also, Davey chose a particular director, Ozu, from Japan. And he stuck with some of his style because Tokyo is also a presence. So he captured everything in a window. If you see throughout the film, you see the Ozu effect is there. There is the Italian director's effect is there, but all is laid bare on the mannerisms of this guy and in the space of Africa. So this was the idea of using the other directors because they are out there to be borrowed. And in a way, and then that is a poetic measure of it, that making sure that at least 51% of it is African. It's home court, man. It's home court. So stylistically, it's good to keep it that way. Yeah.
And actually, if you don't mind, I think I'm going to take the last question. So I noticed in the entire film that the very specific sort of religious Christian culture of Ethiopia, I believe Coptic, But the iconography was throughout the entire film, the recurring character of the priest. What place for you in the film and for Abebe did that very specific faith come in?
More so than the faith, I think the epicenter of the film was the sun, because the film starts with the Homer, the quote. The Ethiopians, half of them leave where the sun rises and half where the sun sets. That's in Homer. The page 1 actually talks about the Ethiopians. This distant place, these distant people that deal with the sun differently, you know. So that's how the film basically starts, with that quotation. So that's why the sun reappears in the film a few times as his encouragement, as his guardian. That's why the guy in the bar would always say, you know, roll up your sleeves and show them how many times the sun has kissed you. Because as shepherds, they would burn it like a tattoo. They would burn it, and when they grow up, it becomes circular. So Bikila had a great deal of them that he had burned when he was a shepherd, with the sun and with a little fire as they were playing as shepherds. And so the sun is also, it was also the two cities where he dominated, Rome and Tokyo. One is the Eternal City and the other one is the Asian Dawn. So these two places, I kind of played it in a way. I had the liberty to use the sun because he conquered these two places. These two cities that really revolve around eternity and the sun and other things. And the brilliance, he was on that one. So it is important for us in Norway when he was looking for, when he wanted to get up. You know, there is a frame with the sun. When he looks into the sun, how much he gets inspired. And at the end of even at the end of the story, when he asked Oni, you know, are you ever gonna go back there? And then Oni basically says, if I take the sun, no, the sun stays here. So there is that element. I mean, even though it's not the religious thing, there is a spirit. There's this kind of a spiritual thing in this one, but not per se the Coptic thing. But that was a great question. Thanks.
Okay, and you said that was the last question? Oh, you know, actually, one thing that I was going to say when you were talking about the poetry, Dana brought up some of the poetry, and one of the things that I noticed was, I was privy to some information that you said this afternoon about your studies were in geology, interestingly enough. And the landscape shots that he used, those gorgeous photography, and it almost became a character in and of itself. And then I noticed that this beautiful character of Africa that becomes so integral to the story and the poetry of the audience, of what we feel for yes. Okay, maybe Stella shouldn't be sponsoring this anymore. No, I'm just kidding. That's a good one. and then almost the epic nature of the Greek journey. He has to go elsewhere, and then it's in the barren, the snowy landscape where he actually does have back to Africa and has that return. So beautiful. It was so beautiful. But Dana had one other question. It was what's next for you? What's next on your plate?
Nothing. I haven't really decided on any topic. But biographies, historical biographies, forgotten giants, really appeal to me. Their stories really appeal to me. I'm doing a research on a few in Europe, and I think if something feels right, I think I'm going to grab it. But it's mostly like that. That's the phase I'm in right now, doing biographies that are just forgotten, just like the one here, just like the one that we did now. And most of them could be any century, any time frame, but most of them are African descendants who contributed a great deal to the Africa, to the European culture, or to what we call now Alexander Dumas, you know, stuff like that. You know, a great writer, but of an African descent that nobody really knows about, and stuff like that kind of fascinates me. I'm not saying I'm doing Dumas, but you know, stuff like that likes me. I like that stuff.
Well, keep in mind that Utah has some fantastic landscape too.
Yes.
Just for your next film. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your film. And please, everybody, stay for the reception afterwards. Let's give him one more hand.
And if everyone wouldn't mind